to university. Going to a good university means for that person's happiness. In reality, it doesn't matter significantly in the grand scheme of things. I think it will be a little more visible in about 10 years. For example, I combined my thoughts on Cho University and my thoughts on the University of Center in 1 year. I've been going there for 4 years in 1 year. Then I'm now to live happily. Is it because I went to Cho University? So if this were Aoyama University, wouldn't that be the case? Wouldn't that have happened at Meiji University? It's probably almost the same. After all, say university. Based on what I learned at university, there aren't many things that are really useful in life. Basically, in a university book, what about repeating English classes? What you will do in English as part of your class is, even at Chuo University, even if it's extremely long and long English, it doesn't change much. I think I'll be able to read that long English sentence. Well then, I'm in the psychology department. Even if I say I'm going to teach psychology, after all, at any university, it doesn't change that much. So, super. A brilliant person enters a super brilliant seminar. If the pattern is to achieve tremendous results and become scholars, in that case, the University of Tokyo would be better. There is a hole. Just 9. About 199% of university students, you don't become a teacher in college. The point is, if you want to become a professor or associate professor, so you need to get along well with the professor at that university and join that faction. If you don't aim for it, the content of university classes doesn't change that much. In the past, there was a case where you could get a job based on your university name. Nowadays, the correlation between university name and employment has decreased considerably. In short, someone who was rich had some money invested in a cram school and went to a famous university. I didn't go to that famous university, but I did some sports. If you have high communication skills, relatively, I've never heard of Nihon University or something like a school. Sole chair work such as playing sports is often employed more often. There is also something called seki. Educational background is not that important. Just one misunderstanding. I will explain because it invites... There is an educational background filter. So I just went to Cho University. I said that it won't change whether it's Aoyama or Meiji. This is about the same because it's a university level. However, in the world, there is an F-rank university that I've never heard of before. Unfortunately, in the case of F-rank universities, you may be cut off due to document screening. I've never heard of it, so I'm going to cut it off. I think he can open a big lighthouse or something. East. Daito Bunka University. We say big University of Tokyo among us. Therefore, I'm uncertain about which university I'll end up attending. Nevertheless, my credentials make me relatively well recognized. If you go up, it won't be cut by the educational background filter. After that, it won't change regardless of where you travel or settle down. It's just, there is also an educational background filter, some degree of, just because it's a popular company, well then, for example, if you want to join Nintendo, let's say Nintendo has an educational background filter, so then I'm a coincidence. I went to Keio University of Technology, so clear the educational background filter. Therefore, if Nintendo is your goal, I can hardly get in. This is, after all, even those beyond the educational background filter, I think Nintendo receives thousands of applications every year. So thousands, if you ask me if I can pass it in a fraction, I won't pass it after all. So that, it just so happens to be a chance educational field. Even if you say you went to a university that surpassed your mark, that's why I almost never get accepted. Recently, I've been pondering that the university a person attends may not heavily impact their success or future. Miki? Well then, what actions lead to joyful and fulfilled adults? We discussed topics like university filters and the path to joining leading companies such as Nintendo. I'm an office worker. Sachi. The percentage of people who are self-employed and look happy is completely different. After all, in the case of office workers, what has been decided, you definitely have to do it. At the appointed time, be sure to get up and get on the train. It is essential for me to head to my workplace. You have to do it every morning, 5 days a week. But what is a water salesperson? Even if it's troublesome, you can go to sleep. In short, during summer vacation, you have to do your summer homework, but don't you do your summer homework to a certain extent? Have school classes, weekdays and summer. If you ask me which day off is more fun, everyone says summer vacation is fun after all. What are the boys in school class? I think some people say So in the case of many people, designing your own timetable and taking initiative in carrying out activities independently can enhance the overall enjoyment. So every day is summer for the people on the self-defense aircraft. It's a day off, isn't it? However, it's really summer vacation, so I'm lazing around without doing anything. Sometimes when I have a deadline, something crazy happens and I feel like I have to stay up all night over and over again. When it comes to which one is more fun in the trial, it's more fun if you're lazy. Mickey. Also, in order to join that company, there's a garage. I think so. Because there is something called national insurance. Therefore, even if it is not a large company, there is some insurance. That's it. Disease. Something that bothers you. Well, I'm kind of sick because I can't work anymore. Large corporation, if it were to say that I had to enter, saving money from the beginning, I can live on welfare, so I can live without working. Heart. I think it's good to have a hold. For example, I joined a large company, so I got sick. I thought that since it was a large company, that insurance would cover it. There are people who are usually kicked out. Not everyone in this world is that kind. I got into a big company. For some reason, I ended up being seconded to a subsidiary. Once, some kind of welfare benefits were stripped away. If you think you can stay here forever, even if you get sick, there's a little bit of bullying. Simply glancing at the office fills me with unease, making me feel incapable of heading there. One way or another, I'm not in a situation where I can make that woman feel grateful. I think it would be nice if it was a time when there was really something like bedtime employment in the Showa era. Companies are extremely focused nowadays on devising ways to eliminate such issues. So that's why this era doesn't guarantee lifelong tranquility even after joining a company. So that big company, well, the big company I joined when I was 20 years old, 45 years later, when it comes to whether we will remain a large company. But the people who joined Yamaichi Securities, I thought I'd been at Yamaichi Shoten for 40 years. Suddenly, the president of Yamaguchi Prefecture appeared on the TV news, and I thought the mayor of my town was on the news. I was told that I would go bankrupt today. Employees watch TV. Sometimes I'm surprised to see it and know it. So, I don't think we know if that large company will still exist in 40 years. Currently, an airline called JAL, I think, that's 10. It went bankrupt once about 5 years ago. I was a shareholder of Chalu at the time, so it became a piece of paper. Navigation. I thought there was no way an empty company would go bankrupt. At that time, there were JAL, Anna, and JAS before that. In short, in Japan, to go outside, with the growing number of individuals traveling by boat, you'll take an airline, you'll take a plane, right? Thus, if operated correctly, Japanese citizens travel internationally and foreigners visit Japan. Because we're going to use a plane, flight, the machine company, I thought there was no way it would go bankrupt. So just like that, that place was destroyed by visiting management. So there is a demand for that, but because the management is terrible, I want to see it go bankrupt. So that's how it feels. While demand and job opportunities exist, companies still end up bankrupt for various reasons. Well, I was making a fax, and there are people who are already making a fax. No one uses fax, so it went out of business. It's a stamp shop. No one uses stamps anymore. That's why I still know it's going to collapse. But there are a lot of people on the plane. But JAL's management was terrible, so it looks like it's going to go bankrupt. No. Well, for those who have customers and demand, sometimes it feels like it's going to collapse. That's why large companies will continue forever. I think it's better not to think too much about that. A little while ago, travel. There was a time when agencies were very popular. JTB, Kinki Nippon Touris. That's where the travel agency is. In the past, when it came to traveling, it was common to buy cheap package tours from a travel agency. Now I buy cheap air tickets myself. So it's become commonplace to stay at Airbnb or something. That's why mid-tier travel agencies are going out of business. I've been taking him with me since about 5 years ago, and recently, I think the collapse has subsided. I don't think we're in an era where people ask why they're so safe just because they joined a large company. Hello, Seki-uk. The daughter of evidence is delicate and hard to make friends with. He himself is also suffering and worried. Say something. At the very beginning, let's consider if building genuine friendships is something you truly desire. I think parents probably want them to make friends. So, Mamma Mia-san, so Onishi, I think I have to make friends because I get told this every day. I've been going through some trial and error, but I just couldn't make friends. So I got together and rephrased this. Just like that, Mia-san. It seems obvious that a network of friends would be beneficial to my daughter's overall growth and happiness. I'll ask you about making friends and what you did with your friends today. There was an undeniable sense of urgency and expectation for my daughter to establish and nurture friendships. But it's not like I want to do anything with my friends. So even though I'm a child who likes reading books in the library, I feel like I don't know how I can make friends. I think there are patterns where people get into trouble. So I think it's a good idea to check with your daughter to see if there's anything you want to do with that friend. Separately. I want to play this video game, and then I want to play this game book. I want to do an air trigger or something. If you want to do what people need, it's better to have friends. So if you ask someone who seems to be free, even if they say they're not going to do this with you, they'll say they're going to do it because they're free. So that's how it feels. If there's something you want to do, well then, let's do this together. You should look for someone who can do it. I think so. Forcing the child, I don't think it's necessary to make friends. In the comments now, he writes that he is also suffering and worried. Is it really painful? To be honest, it's hard not having friends. I genuinely doubt it'll occur, especially in school settings. Because what is school? You can go there normally without talking to anyone. If you don't have anything else to do during your break, you can read books or comics, right? So within 5 minutes of receiving the business, so like break time or something, read books and manga. Class started again. Maybe at school lunch, are you talking about something normally next door while writing, I'm flipping? Shouldn't you just go home when you're done? It's not particularly spicy. So what's painful is that it's truly challenging to be in a scenario where everyone around assumes this individual has no friends. Take, for instance, that packed and bustling train. Nobody has any friends around. When I asked if it was painful, I don't think anyone is having a hard time. Because nothing else. Because we don't need to talk. But my friends around me were playing. I wonder how people around me will see me not playing. That's what. It's hard to be able to stand the stares of people around you. So, well then, depending on the gaze from around you, if it's painful, his parents too, it's particularly challenging to avoid forming friendships, isn't it? It's doing the same thing as the gaze from around it. The point is that, friend, it's hard to be without someone, so you should do something about it. I'm making you think. It's embarrassing to have no friends. People around me also think that this person has no friends. Wow, I feel like I don't like it. Because my parents are also in that faction. I don't really need to have any friends, so... To put it simply, manga is incredibly entertaining and enjoyable. I'm not in trouble with anything. Frankly, I don't have any close friends right now. I feel uncomfortable with this person, especially if they're connected to a friend's home. All you have to do is make people think what they think. To be honest, reflecting on the past, I mainly spent time playing with my peers during my elementary school days. It seemed like he didn't have any friends around him. Hey, when I want to play, I join a group of friends. When I don't feel like playing, I'm reading a book. Because I'm doing it the way I want to. So I never thought of myself that I didn't have many friends. To my elementary school friend, I was told you didn't have many friends. You were a little surprised, weren't you? Normally, I also went to a friend's house to play. The point is that I go when I want to play. So that my friends don't visit, but I often find myself showing up where they are. So I don't really like it. The one who didn't care about anything was alive. Therefore, I believe it's more considerate to avoid labeling the lack of friendship as inherently negative or problematic. The point is to make that friend. If it's difficult, I may not be able to help you make those friends. I believe we can encourage a shift in perspective, showing that it's challenging but not impossible to form such friendships. I wait for the same thing as telling my story unilaterally. I feel empowered because I'm quite resilient, although I wonder if others see me as foolish for monopolizing conversations, and still I won't back down. It would be awkward for me though. If I talk to you, you're not interested at all. Such people are coming soon. Really strange. I really don't feel it. That kind of person is probably because I feel good while I'm talking. I'm with you when I'm drunk. So while I was playing with my cell phone, I was like, I want to hear it half-heartedly. I think it's okay. Good evening, this year's 41st bottom water. I'll see my children until that age. But I'm getting married this weekend. If Urkesh had children to support him, wouldn't he? It's amazing. Even though I'm a child, I suddenly got married. Will you marry at your parents' house until you are 40? Congratulations. There are many things that can be confusing when you live together, but Basically, as long as the man is patient, married life will go well. The married life that women put up with often doesn't go well. So I think it's okay for men to just hold back. It's a rule of thumb. Why did Japan's faith increase rapidly after the war? Can we increase it now in the same way as then? I can't. On the contrary, it increased by 1/500 during the war. Between enough to make a child, people in their 20s to 40s, I was out at war. So in the first place, in Japan, there were some people working as laborers. The absolute number of men was small. So that child won't be born that often. In the first place, we felt like we didn't have enough food. So I'm not raising a child. There were times when I said that. Therefore, after the war, America experienced various things, gave me supplies and came to that war. The men came back too. For now, I was poor and had nothing to do, so I decided to raise a child. So I ended up calling it Moton, because it's Ushijima. Regions like Africa and similar areas, east or something, countries that had civil wars, there are fewer men and more women. You buy it in countries that are like 5 times as many. So if men work hard in those places, suddenly the number of children increases. Because there are times when you do it. So it takes a woman a year to have a child. Make a child inside yourself. Because they will give birth to it. After all, it's been a year, but a man can get 10 people pregnant if he wants to do it, even for one day. Can do. If possible, I can do 10 people in a month. So it's a state that motivates men. If you create an environment where that is acceptable, you can have a lot of children. Therefore, if Japan continues to take measures to combat the declining birth rate, in my perspective, Kazuo exhibits an incredible diversity and range of qualities. So, for example, people like Mr. Maizawa, who have a strong sexual desire and a lot of money, well then, I'm that wife-like person. If you say you're going to have a child with about 10 people, then suddenly you're going to be able to have 10 children by yourself. But part of the monogamy system, after all, that woman, I'm not ready to lose every year. So even if I give birth and take a year off, one way or another, after all, if you reach the age of 40, you will give birth at an advanced age. The period between your late 20s and around 35 years old, the period when you don't give birth at an old age, after all, it's only about 10 years. So even if you give birth every year, even in the best case, only 5 people can make it. But in general, Japan is still, there are fewer families with 2 children and 6 or 7 or something. Children, I'm sure the average number of households with, I guess it was 8 or something. Well, it's definitely down to second place. Because it's seki, that's what it feels like. So it's better to have some diversity. I think the number of children will continue to increase. It wasn't possible to broadcast it after it was extended in Otani Town, but I woke up and ran away after all. In that golden week, I was busy, so I could only stream it about once a month. 22 years old, unemployed, looking for work. Currently, I do it when I have mental illnesses such as anxiety disorder and panic disorder. To minimize panic-induced anxiety, various steps are taken, including thoroughly chewing food, sleeping as needed, and utilizing artificial sweeteners like carbonated chocolate. Please give your support and advice to those who are changing psychiatry across Japan. Seki no? This kind of thing, I think you should ask your doctor normally. There is a general theory that it is better to exercise and get in the sun. Is it better to do this or not to do this? Depending on the person's circumstances. Given uncertainties, it's advisable to consult directly with your physician and adhere to their professional guidance. Good evening, Hiroki. This is my first publisher. Amid various political issues such as the Northern City Council and the Liberal Democratic Party/Fund issue, I would like to comment on the statement that the people are responsible because they were the people who elected that member of parliament. At the time of the election, does everyone think that this congressman is a bad congressman who dozes off or makes slush money? There isn't. Integrity? I don't know how to check who the current congressman is and what that congressman has been saying. Not long ago, so something like that, member of parliament, there was a site that was doing something like a campaign to lose the election. This person, something like this. There are things like, I did it. Also, there was a site that posted questions like, I asked you this question as a member of parliament. Are there any negative ones like that lately? Ushijima, to be frank, maybe that's what happens no matter who you choose. Maybe people who want to become politicians are, in many cases, I think they really want to improve Japanese society. So when I think about making Japanese society better, I joined the Liberal Democratic Party because I thought it would be better to join the ruling party. In the Liberal Democratic Party, largest faction, it's better to stay in to a certain extent. It is said that the authority will also increase. Then I'll join the old Abe faction. So I was told that I was going to have a party next time. Well, then I'll have a party. I was told to bring me from a company I know. So I was told that I should do a live action film by myself as a quota. And I said I understood. So I brought 10 companies. So I brought Jusha. Well, then like this, please write it down as a donation. So after that, I'll give it to you like this. So please put this in your account. However, don't put it in an account that falls under the Political Funds Control Act. From the great men of the faction, this is how you do it, politics. I said it was like this. You'll be given money. In Miki, numerous individuals aren't aware whether particular incidents they encounter are truly negative or otherwise perceptible. Because you're a politician, aren't you? People who have been doing it all along in the largest faction of the ruling party, if you say that this is the correct way for politicians to operate, that's genuinely my perspective and the reasoning behind these thoughts. For example, it's decreased lately. Within Japanese culture, it is a widely observed tradition in club activities for seniors to discipline juniors physically. During that particular time period, there were some people who thought it was a good idea to hit, but like this. I hold the belief that sports should involve consistent practice and dedication, but if we endure it for another 2 years, we will become seniors ourselves. If you hold back, if you say it's just fine, in my perspective, that is precisely the way it should be. Not what's right, that's what it is. So then what is right as a rule? This is just the way things generally unfold, and the process continues in the same direction as it has been. They say they won't wake up the izakaya or make waves. It means maintaining the system. So what my seniors said and how my seniors did it. Let's follow suit. This is quite common in Japan. So regarding the serious individual in question, people who follow what their superiors or superiors say are better. As a result, I think I'll end up receiving slush money. Yes. All right. No, you didn't make it in time. Before I sneeze, I thought I'd flip the switch, though. You didn't make it in time. Politicians? Is it the same with French? A culture that takes credit? Injury? Even if you don't wake up, you always ask for your resignation. So every week, there are people who say that President Macron should resign and stop. There are people who want the Liberal Democratic Party. You're not going to resign. In Japan, the Prime Minister is popular, but there aren't many people who do it until the end. France and America are generally popular until the end. That's why politicians usually stay until the end of their popularity. But only in Japan, they are forced to quit halfway through. Or quit on your own.